Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. For those of you who have been following the Chad and Lori Daybell case closely, you may already know that on the 7th of August of this year, police in Chandler, Arizona have announced that they are seeking to charge Lori Vallow or Daybell with conspiracy to murder Charles Vallow, her late husband. For those of you who don't know, Lori was married to Charles and he was killed by her brother Alex Cox in July of last year, allegedly in self-defense. So the way things work in terms of bringing criminal charges against an individual, it is initially up to the police to perform initial investigations, and then if they believe that they have enough to refer the matter to the prosecution, then they will, and then the prosecution will make the ultimate decision on whether charges will be brought against the individual or not. This is entirely based on how much evidence and how strong of a case the prosecution think they have. Because ultimately, when it goes to trial, or if it goes to trial, they must prove that the individual has committed these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt. So the jury must virtually have no doubt in their mind that the person committed the crime. So this process, according to the police in Chandler, will take about 4 to 6 months. So it will take some time purely because they have to perform all the investigations. To figure out whether the prosecution will decide to bring charges against Lori ultimately depends on this. Will they have enough evidence to prove that she conspired to murder Charles Vallow beyond a reasonable doubt? Let's have a look at the actual offense of conspiracy in Arizona and see what elements need to be satisfied in order to secure a conviction. So essentially, we need to prove intention and an agreement amongst 2 or more people to commit the offense. Before we look into what evidence is available, let's have a look at the immediate aftermath of Charles's murder. So Lori is actually outside with Tylee, her daughter, may she rest in peace, and Alex, of course, was also interrogated by police right outside the house.
And where are you at? Where are you both
in the
at?
Living room.
Okay.
And then I turned around and he hit me in the back of the head with a bat. So I went to my room and got my gun. I always carry it.
You went to your room, meaning the room you're staying in?
Yeah.
Okay, and you brought a gun with you?
Yes.
Do you always bring a gun?
I have a concealed carry, always.
Okay.
Just to be safe.
Hi, who are you? Okay, just stand over there for just a second, guys.
And then I told him to put the bat down, and he wouldn't, and he came at me again.
And the wife just showed up as well. So you told him to put the...
Yes.
So where are you at? Where are you at now? Or did you stay in your bedroom?
No.
Okay, why didn't you stay just in your bedroom, close the door? Is that something you didn't think about, or...?
Didn't even occur to me.
Okay, so walk me through it. So you go back in your room.
So I just went back in the living room. I'm like, what is your problem?
With the gun in your
hand? Yes. And I said, I want you to put that bat down, and he wouldn't do it. And he's like, and he came at me with the bat again after he'd already hit me in the head. So I shot him to stop him.
Okay, and then what happened?
That was it.
Does your husband live here or no?
No, he lives in Houston.
Gotcha.
We just moved in here a few weeks ago.
Gotcha. How long have you guys lived here?
I'm sorry?
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us very well.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
Are you working at all?
No.
Okay. And you're still about 5'6", 120?
First of all, I think any sane human, and I don't want to use the word normal because that's subjective, but any sane person can ascertain that Lori's reaction was completely unnatural because she was just acting like nothing had happened. What stands out to me with Alex's demeanor is not necessarily the way he's behaving. He claims that Charles, who was a baseball player and a very strong, powerful man, swung a baseball bat at Alex's head, which prompted Alex to go get his gun and shoot Charles in self-defense. If someone of Charles's stature, and also the fact that he is a skilled baseball player, swung a bat at your head, I truly find it incredibly hard to believe that you would even be left conscious, let alone be able to go to your room and get your gun and then go back out and shoot the person. And I think that the police also looked at his head and noticed a small little bruise or a scratch or something, basically something really insignificant, which again makes it highly unlikely that Charles did actually swing at Alex with a baseball bat, as Alex claimed. Alright, so does the prosecution have enough evidence to charge Lori with conspiracy to commit murder in connection to her late husband? Our main witness, Alex, is dead, so a vital source of evidence is forever lost. And since it was a self-defense claim, this is really unfortunate, because essentially, because of the fact that Alex is no longer with us and can therefore no longer be investigated or even prosecuted, then this claim of self-defense can never be thoroughly disproved, because it was entirely made by Alex. And this leaves Lori free to assign all blame to Alex, who can't be held responsible since he is dead. But this is assuming that the prosecution doesn't have a whole bunch of other incriminating evidence against Lori. If Alex was the only source of evidence, then the case is doomed. But it doesn't look like he is. And it does seem that the police and the prosecution have other evidence that they can rely on, which is why they've even made this announcement of potentially charging Lori with conspiracy to murder. According to the Chandler police, search warrants and subpoenas have been and will be issued to gather evidence, and investigators are already combing through over 10,000 pieces of digital data. Of course, there's also Melanie Gibbs' evidence, who is Lori's ex-best friend and a huge source of information. She is also a very important witness, as is her partner David, who was also constantly around the couple, and anyone else who was close to the couple who could potentially have any evidence or information to offer. Because don't forget, they openly discussed this zombie theory, especially in front of Melanie and her partner David. So it wasn't something they kept to themselves. And if you know anything about this case, or if you've watched the previous video I made about this case, Chad told Lori that Charles was a zombie called Ned Snyder. And after he said this, lo and behold, Charles ended up dead. And then of course there's the body cam footage showing an eerily cool, calm, and collected Lori, who showed no indication of shock or surprise or sorrow or anything other than a bubbly disposition after the murder of her husband. And yes, they were going through a rough patch. Yes, Charles was chasing her to get a divorce, but you know what else Charles was doing? He went to the police and told them he was fearful she would kill him because she was talking nonsense after meeting Chad.
So what makes her a danger to herself and to others?
She threatened me, murder me, kill me.
She threatened to murder you?
Yes. And she said,
how did she do that?
My bishop right there is in the car. He was on the phone with me today when she said, "I will have you destroyed." That's what she said there.
Okay, that's not a threat to kill you.
Yesterday was a threat to kill me.
Okay. What did she say yesterday?
She said, "You're not Charles. I don't know who you are, what you did with Charles, but I can murder you now with my powers."
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Says I'm gonna kill you too. Yesterday was
So she's speaking as a spiritual being.
She was telling him all these things that made him fear for his life. And the police failed this man, and by extension, they failed JJ and Tylee as well, because had they taken Charles seriously, he would most probably still be alive and with us today, and so would Tylee and JJ, because Lori and Chad and Alex would have been stopped in their tracks. And this is the general theme of my channel. Male victims or male complainants are rarely taken seriously by the authorities, especially when the person they are complaining of is a woman. And this is another tragic example of this reality. I mean, the woman had a pool party hours after Charles's death. I'm not sure if she went to one or if she threw one. That is another indication that there is something severely wrong here. Now, of course, her defense attorney can argue that people process grief differently. Not everyone's going to behave or react in the same way in a tragedy, and that is true. But when you consider everything in tandem, right, you're not meant to look at evidence in isolation. Look at all the evidence and it will paint a picture for you or for the jury to arrive at your ultimate decision. Evidence can very often not make much sense or not have much probative value or weight if it is looked at individually. So her defense can argue she reacted to grief differently, But then when you consider all the zombie talk and meeting Chad and Charles complaining to the police that he was afraid she would kill him, all of these things are incredibly difficult to ignore. And because most of these things happened before Charles's death, then the argument of Lori processes grief differently absolutely falls flat on its face. And all of these things that transpired before Charles's death greatly contribute to the element of intention and agreement that we talked about earlier in this video. And then of course, there's the very important fact that Chad's late wife, Tammy Daybell, died 3 months after Charles was killed. So Lori and Chad were effectively single and left free to mingle. Speaking of Tammy, no charges have been laid against Chad or anyone for that matter with regards to her death yet. And if you don't know, she was initially buried without an autopsy being conducted to determine the cause of death. It was determined to be a natural cause of death, and this was based on Chad's opinion. He claimed that she suffered a myriad of health issues before her untimely demise, and that he urged her to go to the hospital and have herself checked, but she refused. All of that is an absolute lie. It's bullshit. She was 49 and she was training to run marathons. So she was incredibly healthy and fit and too young to die mysteriously in her sleep of natural causes. Her body has been exhumed, I believe in December of last year, to conduct an autopsy and determine whether there was any foul play in connection to her death. In relation to Alex's death, an autopsy was conducted on Alex's corpse, and blood clots in his lungs and high blood pressure were determined as his official cause of death, so natural causes. And of course, you can't make someone have high blood pressure and you can't make them die of blood clots in their lungs. So it is easier to believe that his death was a result of natural causes. However, having said that, he may have already had these issues within himself, right, in his body, but they weren't gonna kill him, at least at that point. So it doesn't rule out homicide. And his case isn't really closed yet. They're still open to receiving more evidence and altering the cause of death if any evidence comes to light to prove otherwise. That's it for today's video. I hope you found it informative. I hope I've shed some insight into the steps that must be taken before a charge is brought against an individual such as Lori. It's not as easy and straightforward as people out of the legal system may believe. There are a lot of steps that must be taken in order to ensure that a case will most likely be successful if taken to trial. As always, do let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I will catch you in a future video.